It was Easter weekend today, of course, being Easter, when Trump issues a chilling Easter weekend message. Fatal weaknesses. Have you heard this story? I can almost assure you haven't, because it doesn't appear on any mainstream headlines. As a matter of fact, even some of the conservative media has not yet covered it. But we stay far ahead of the news cycle here. And it's a story I'm going to bring you in just a minute. And before we tread into the story, we must remember what today is, and I'll be back with you in one moment. They found a stone rolled away from the tomb. But when they entered, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. While they were wondering about this, suddenly two men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood beside them. In their fright, the women bowed down with their faces to the ground, but the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He is risen. Remember how he told you, while he was still with you in Galilee. The Son of Man must be delivered over to the hands of sinners, be crucified, and on the third day be raised again." Then they remembered his words, and we should remember those words. He died for our sins, and today he has risen. Trump also remembering this day, and no, this is not the warning.
On Easter Sunday, we celebrate his glorious resurrection and proclaim, as Christians have done for nearly 2,000 years, he is risen. Through the pain and sacrifice of Jesus on the cross, we saw God's boundless love and devotion to all humanity. And in that moment of his resurrection, history was forever changed with the promise of everlasting life. As we approach this joyous Easter Sunday, I want to wish Christians everywhere a happy and beautiful and blessed holiday. America is a nation of believers. We need God. We want God. And with his help, we will make our nation stronger, safer, greater, and more prosperous, and much more united than ever before. Thank you to everyone, and have a really happy Easter.
I never forget on this channel what's important, and I know you don't either. Yesterday, marking the 250th year anniversary of the Revolutionary War. If you were wondering why I wasn't here, it's because Lisa needed me to fill in over on her channel. I invite you to watch the video I posted. If you're restricted, just watch the video I posted yesterday. And while you're there at Lisa's channel, please subscribe. Make sure your bell is checked to all, just like I need you here to make sure your bell is checked to all and you're subscribed to the channel. Those of you that have joined as members, thank you so very much. And those of you who have provided super thanks, thank you. Those of you who have joined our family at restrictedrepublic.com, where you get all the broadcasts, no matter where we broadcast them, with all commercials and interruptions removed. The platform is funded by you. Lisa and I created it many, many years ago, and it goes to actually recap why we created it, because they just put it out. The White House put out everything we covered for our audience years ago, light years ahead of when any mainstream media source even touched it. And it's all going to be confirmed, and I'm going to continue on this broadcast into what this White House publication covers in great detail. I want you to get there today, and I promise you it will take you many holidays to even get through the archive of videos we carry there. Information that is critical for you to make the right decisions moving forward, and that's all we work there to do. RestrictedRepublic.com. But now let's get on with this broadcast. So what did he do exactly? What battles is he fighting? 250 years later, and one day now, he is still fighting very much the same battle we fought. And he's trying to do it through an air of transparency, and nothing should commemorate that more than the 30th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. I hope you didn't forget this story before we get to our headline story. This warning, these fatal weaknesses that have been identified. Because I never want anyone to forget this story. As I've always said, the only difference between the KGB and the FBI is that the KGB has never claimed to be a legitimate law enforcement agency. Jesse Trentadau, who takes focus in the beginning segment of this story because his brother, pictured there, I'm sure a photo you remember, and I hope you remember the history because he was mistakenly identified as John Doe 2, and later ruled to be a suicide, but the brother has fought against that ruling for a very long time. In this article by Mother Jones, Did the FBI Bury Oklahoma City Bombing Evidence? Mighty federal officials have believed that Kenny Trentadau was in fact Richard Lee Guthrie, and the story continues on today, but now, on a website I'm going to share for you, the story is now public. All the details claimed by his brother, defending his brother, who was identified as John Doe 2, when some state that this man was actually John Doe 2, both now deceased. A tragic story. And we have followed for many years the court filings in the defense of his brother, inmate's death sparks charges of a cover-up. The U.S. DOJ and OIG special report and investigation concluded with one line: we believe that the evidence showed that he committed suicide. I'm curious, if you know this storyline, do you believe he did? When the body was delivered back to the family, makeup removed, bruises everywhere, it called a lot into question. Jesse is the brother of Kenneth. Michael Trentadau died in August of 1995 while incarcerated at the Federal Transfer Center in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Following the death, the Department of Justice immediately deemed it a suicide, denied the medical examiner access to the cell where Kenneth Trentadau was killed, ordered the cell cleaned and painted, and repeatedly asked both the medical examiner and Kenneth's family to authorize the cremation of his body, but they didn't allow for that. The medical examiner could not legally authorize cremation, and the family refused, demanding that Kenneth's body be returned to them. When Trentadau's body was returned to the family, they removed heavy makeup and discovered bruises all over his body from head to foot. The bruises, cuts, and other wounds depicted an obvious beating, and what they've always claimed has been a murder, and why we continue today to fight for transparency. A letter written from Terry Nichols to John Ashcroft. Now the story being linked together as Terry Nichols was visited in his cell by a man by the name of Mr. Selby, who approached me with a plea deal, a plea bargain. Mr. Selby told me that he was not employed by the United States Department of Justice, but that he was speaking for and with the authority of the United States Department of Justice. What did they offer? Shortly thereafter, Nichols said, after the 60-minute interview was canceled, because Ashcroft said, nope, you can't talk to him. So 60 Minutes cancels the sit-down interview. Nichols said he received a visit from the man I just mentioned, Michael Selby, and he had to agree to 3 conditions. He would have gotten death sentence taken off the table. And what were those conditions? Take ownership of the anonymous warning that the DOJ received saying the Murrah Federal Building was bombed 30 minutes before it had actually been bombed. Revealed the location of an explosive used in the bombing. Nichols mentioned having knowledge of an unused stash. In his letter to Ashcroft, the existence of a remaining stash was not known at the time. 30 minutes prior, a phone call rang through.
Documents obtained by 2020 show that someone called the Executive Secretariat's office at the Justice Department in Washington and said the Murrah Building had been bombed. But this was 24 minutes before the blast. No action was apparently taken.
And so now the newer part of this story. In a recent interview, it was discovered that DOJ proxy Michael Selby, who visited Nichols previously, worked in Ashcroft's private security detail. Trentadau helped to further corroborate this during the interview. After the declaration was filed, Selby called me upset as hell, said that I had just got him effing killed. The attorney who brought Selby in to meet Nichols is Rodney Uphoff, a law professor at the University of Missouri. I called Uphoff, and he confirmed the event. And friends, it is why transparency is absolutely so critical. Isn't it strange that such an offer, according to Zero Hedge, giving leniency to accomplice to one of the most horrific domestic terrorist attacks in U.S. history, would be presented by someone who does not work at the DOJ and stipulate that Nichols take credit for an anonymous tip which he did not make? Nichols ultimately did not accept the deal because he did not want to throw his brother under the bus. The story, now part of the official record, thanks to this website. And I'm down in the website. It's kennethtrentadell.com. I'll put the letters up on the screen so you can go and read the entire timeline of events. It is extremely eye-opening. Warning, the picture at the front will be tough for some to look at. It is why I am staged down in this website right now. But to the headline story. Supreme Court pauses Trump's administration deportations of Venezuelan migrants. Now, that is the correct title. They did not ban him. They paused him. But how does this story fit together? The ruling as such, very short. There is before the court an application on behalf of a putative class of detainees seeking an injunction against their removal under the Alien Enemies Act. The matter is currently pending before the Fifth Circuit. Upon acting by the Fifth Circuit, the Solicitor General is invited to file a response to the application before this court as soon as possible, and they did. It was Trump's ultimate, chilling Easter weekend message because what it spells for the showdown on the very Constitution of the United States of America. The government is directed not to remove any member of the putative class of detainees from the United States until further order of this court. Alito, Thomas dissenting. A pause, some calling it the absolute undermining of we the people. My opinion is it is the absolute undermining of we the people. We gave Trump the mandate to do exactly what he's doing. And the Supreme Court has decided that our vote, well, in their eyes, right now, doesn't matter. In the Supreme Court of the United States, the filing comes down. Responding opposition to emergency application. This was filed Easter weekend, Friday night, coming into the holiday. The message it delivers is more chilling than most would realize. Respondents' opposition to emergency application. Late yesterday, applicants sought an unprecedented injunction from this court against the removal of any members of a putative class of aliens who are or will be detained in the Northern District of Texas. This is where the showdown is going to start under the Alien Enemies Act. The aliens are Venezuelan nationals who are unlawfully present in the United States. And wait, you think Trump is done? Oh no, he releases a series of photos, thumbing his nose at the Supreme Court, saying you have no authority here. I have the authority. And in this case, he does. To start, this court is a court of review, not first review. Yet the applicant insists on judicial review in reverse. They gave us a mere 42 minutes notice before divesting into a jurisdiction by filing a notice of appeal claiming constrictive denial of relief. In addition to the prematurity noted by the Fifth Circuit, fatal weaknesses in applicants' claim foreclose any relief. The key statement in here. So let me give you a summation. Premature and improper. Sauer emphasizes that the Supreme Court should not be the first to review a case that has not even been properly evaluated by the lower courts. He called the ACLU's action fatally premature. No threat of irreparable harm. The government had already agreed not to deport the named petitioners, identified Venezuelan nationals detained under the Alien Enemies Act until their habeas corpus petitions were resolved, but yet still is ruled on by the Supreme Court. Flawed class action. Sauer slams the ACLU's attempt to certify a certain class of detainees, arguing it was manifestly improper. He pointed out that the petitioners claimed not to be members of Trentagua, making them unfit to represent others who are. Due process fully respected. Sauer defends the administration's process, stating that detainees have been given adequate notice and time to file legal challenges, and the government paused deportations for those who filed habeas petitions. In other words, we did what you asked in your prior ruling, which I'm about to cover for you. But now you're saying even though we did what you asked in the prior rulings, we have to do more. handcuffing the administration. Legal authority still intact, Sauer made it clear that even if the Alien Enemies Act was blocked, the government retained full authority under Title 8 of the U.S. Code to deport individuals affiliated with foreign terrorist organizations, which Trump has already declared these organizations to be. So now the Supreme Court has two problems on its hands. And they're intruding and interfering, in my opinion, with what they should not be, but the administration does not stop. Per a senior Trump administration official, these are some of the suspected Venezuelan Trent de Aragua gang members detained in Texas that the administration was planning to deport before SCOTUS stepped in and blocked it last night. All have significant criminal convictions. So they give the photos and the convictions. Multiple pending criminal charges for assault 3 times, crimes against a person, unlawful possession of a weapon, with the photos, with the gang insignias included. Criminal charges for aggravated assault with a weapon, pointing and presenting firearms at a person, criminal charges for larceny and dangerous drugs, and he goes on. But this isn't enough for anyone. This is the lunacy of what's happening right now. The fatal weakness is in all of this is that we, the people, and our vote to mandate change to President Trump is being ignored by the very system that has continued to protect, in the eyes of most, those who are here illegally over those who are here legally. And that is a fundamental problem. So fundamentally understood now is it that even Boasberg now doesn't believe he has the power to block Trump deportations, not on a national basis anymore. Boasberg pointed specifically to one part of the Supreme Court's April 7th ruling, which said the legal challenges to deportations under the Alien Enemies Act must be filed in the jurisdictions where individuals are detained. No more blanket ruling. Boasberg's even having a mild change of heart. So the initial ruling, in which the Supreme Court has already told you that we don't agree with the interpretation provided by those defending themselves, that they are not to be removed under the Alien Enemies Act. It's the process by which they're to be removed. We grant the application and vacate the TROs. The detainees seek equitable relief against the implementation of the proclamation and against their removal under the Alien Enemies Act. They challenge the government's interpretation of the act and assert they do not fall within the category of removable alien enemies, but we do not reach those arguments. Okay, so let's go forward in this initial ruling. The detainees' rights against summary removal, however, are not currently in dispute. The government expressly agrees that TDA members subject to removal under the Alien Enemies Act get judicial review. Okay, so what's the issue here? It is well established the Fifth Amendment entitles aliens to due process of the law. Trump just said, I am giving them due process. Those who applied for due process. The ACLU is trying to umbrella over this and encompass everyone. Boasberg backing down and saying, wait, now I can't do this for every state because it has to go to the state where they're arrested and found, and that state has the time now, according to the Trump administration, to allow them the proper legal proceedings before deportation, in which the Supreme Court's already told you under the Alien Enemies Act, we're not stopping that portion of it. They're making a mess out of this. More specifically, in the context, AEA detainees must receive notice after the date of this order that they are subject to removal under the Act. That was the only portion of the ruling that they did. The notice must be afforded within a reasonable time and in such manner as will allow them to actually seek habeas relief in the proper venue before such removal occurs. And I believe that part of the litigation will stand. But then how do we proceed and get the courts to actually move in an efficient manner to get anything done rather than be hung up in years of bureaucracy, which happens traditionally? And therein lies the problem. The only question is which court will resolve the challenge. This is the part that Boasberg goes off of. The only question is which court will resolve the challenge for the reasons set forth. Hold that the venue lies in the district of confinement, removing all of Boasberg's power to make these blanket rulings that are affecting Trump and the administration, but not only in this case, in many cases. Because as the Supreme Court ruled, district of confinement once, they'll rule that way again. And hence, you now have an officially broken system and ruling, which I warned you weeks ago. That Supreme Court ruling was so gray that it would allow for the next proceeding to occur, which just did. And Trump calls it fatal weaknesses. And from what I've interpreted, he's absolutely 100% correct. It was the gray area I've been referring to for weeks. So clear is it now that even Boasberg is going along with it. Dumbfounding to me. Dumbfounding. Because you also asked me about this. What about the Logan Act? What about that senator going out? Well, now people are drumming up on that one. Group demands ethics probe into the Democrat who flew into El Salvador to aid suspected MS-13 member, Senator Van Hollen to be more specific. The Logan Act, which is also very specific, without authority of the United States. In its current form, the Logan Act bars a citizen of the United States without authority of the United States from directly or indirectly commencing or carrying out any correspondence or intercourse with any foreign government with intent to influence measures or conduct of any foreign government. El Salvador, release this man. I don't know if you can get a clearer example. And now congressional members, House of Representatives, are talking about going and doing the same. So big is it that James Comer has to come out. If Democrats wish to travel to El Salvador and meet with a foreign illegal MS-13 gang member, they can spend their own money to do so. I will not approve I will not approve a single dime of Oversight Committee taxpayer funds for use on the excursion Democrats have requested. But, Mr. Comer, that's not enough. You haven't gone far enough. Could we please apply all the laws that exist? Because people are watching this right now and thinking this is okay. And letters and signatures aren't quite enough anymore. Somebody has to stop the lunacy. So bad is it, I might as well continue to use that line. So many people realize how bad this problem is that now you have Elon Musk assisting on one side. And now Peter Thiel's Palantir's coming in to aid on the other side. Breaking story now. ICE just ordered $30 million worth of new technology from Palantir to track immigrants. He has the technology, and he's now been given jurisdiction and funding to be delivered by September 25th of 2025 to investigate where the illegal immigrants are. There's the award. And what does it do? What is this new technology going to do? Targeting and enforcement prioritization, streamlining operations to apprehend illegal aliens, focused on transnational criminal organizations, violent criminals, and visa overstays. Self-deportation tracking, real-time visibility into self-deportation instances to inform policy and resource allocations. Immigration lifestyle process, end-to-end management from identification to removal. Optimizing deportation logistics. Services include software license, configuration, engineering, and hosting to deliver a prototype by September 25th of 2025. And what do you have there, my friends? You have a system that isn't going to stop. It will only accelerate until Trump can give back to us what we gave him the mandate to do. Change everything. Palantir is not stopping with illegal immigration. They're also going to aid Doge now. Palantir has been working with Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to build a mega API for the Internal Revenue Service, which would allow better record searching across the agency's databases. They are looking for every misspent, misallocated, and misappropriated penny. I love that they're not stopping. No one can keep up with this effort. You now have Thiel, Trump, and Musk working in lockstep. Folks, there ain't many people who can keep up with that. And finally, we have the shoe on the other foot for once in decades. Because all we asked for was truth, transparency, and accountability. And the White House just gave us the gift that keeps on giving now, didn't they? This is basically going to be a recap of what we've already done at Restricted Republic years ago. Well, now the White House makes it official. And it's a story I'm going to do exclusively at Restricted Republic for you today. It's my Easter gift to you. I want you to say a prayer for President Trump. I want you to say a prayer for the great Republic of the United States of America. And most importantly, always remember what today is. And it's not Easter. It's Resurrection Day. He has risen. And because of the sacrifice that he gave, it guides me every day in what I do for you and why we fear nothing. Nothing. We don't run from the truth. We run at truth, no matter how dark the corner it resides. And I will continue to provide that to you. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.